American Egg Spotlight. I'm Chrissy Wozniak, and I just wanted to say Merry Christmas to everyone, and I hope everyone has a great holiday season. I thought this would be a great time to replay a panel that I was lucky enough to be asked to moderate in October at the FIRA USA conference out in Fresno, California. And the topic was very interesting. And anybody that watches or listens to the podcast knows that I'm very interested in ag technology. And so this topic was very interesting to me. The topic is robotics, business models, and the maintenance of computer-based equipment. And the business model, it is pretty fascinating to me because, we have out of the universities, a lot of ideas, a lot of tech that's coming down the line and can do really incredible things. But without a good, solid business model, it's really about providing food to the world, but we also have to make profit. So it doesn't matter how cool the technology is, it has to have a solid business model. So that's what's explored in this panel. So I'm just going to go through each of the panelists, and then we'll jump right in. So the first panelist is Ben Alfi, the co-founder and CEO of Blue White Robotics. And he's has a really cool story. He's a seasoned combat pilot working for more than 10 years on unmanned systems in the IAF. In his 25 years in the IDF, Alfi served in various positions. He's an expert in testing, certifying, and operating autonomous systems for any application, and is an artist in bringing complicated ideas into reality. In 2017, after retiring from the IAF, Ben Alfi founded Blue White Robotics, an innovative and leading autonomous system company. Blue White Robotics provides robot as a service, a complete solution for seamless and efficient adoption of autonomous technologies. And we've actually featured Blue White on Ag Spotlight a couple of weeks ago. So you can go back on YouTube or Rumble or any of the podcasting platforms and listen there. We also have Bartley Walker, president of Pacific Ag Rentals. And Bartley was born and raised in the Salinas area and earned a bachelor's degree in ag management and marketing from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Bartley joined his father in a new business venture called Pacific Ag Rentals in 2001. And from the initial start of 2 tractors, now the fleet has grown to over 3,500 pieces of equipment, serving growers across 1 million acres of farmland across the US and Mexico. In 2017, they refined the company's focus on supporting new technologies that make a positive impact in ag, allowing smaller farmers to have access to the latest in tech. Our next speaker panelist is Matt Hart, who's the lead engineer at Betaravia Farms and its sister companies. His primary objective has been developing and implementing innovative technologies and practices for all aspects of the farming operation. Prior to that, Matt worked as an irrigation system engineer for both vineyards and orchards. Matt's a graduate of the Bioresource and Agriculture Engineering program at California Polytechnic, University San Luis Obispo. He has grown up around agriculture and has been working on agriculture equipment for the last 18 years. The next panelist was Jennifer Edney, president of Edney Distributing Co. Jennifer Edney has been with the company for nearly 15 years and with prior experience in retail and financial services. She has a Bachelor of Science degree in psychology from the University of Minnesota, earned a wholesale distribution manager certificate from the Ohio State University, and is current MBA student at St. Catherine University in St. Paul, Minnesota. Edney Distributing Company is a wholesale distributor of high-quality equipment focusing on agricultural, lawn and turf maintenance, forestry, and light industrial, serving the upper Midwest region of the United States. And then the last panelist is Stephen Saunders, the CEO of Robotics Plus. And Stephen has 35 years experience in horticultural sector, is the founder and owner of the Plus group of companies, which specialize in horticulture management, orchard ownership, proprietary fruit varieties. Stephen is co-founder of the Newham Park Innovation Center in Tauranga, New Zealand. He's an active angel investor, director of many privately owned companies and ag tech startups, and is also an independent director for Aggregate, a founding shareholder and director of Rocket Global and Miro Limited. Stephen is a founder, shareholder, and chairman of Robotics Plus, WNT Ventures, and is founding member of Plant Tech Research Institute. So now we'll jump in, and again, Merry Christmas to everyone, and I hope you enjoy the panel. So I welcome you all, and thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to start out first. You all have very diverse backgrounds in agriculture, so if you would all take a turn and tell us how you got into robotics and how that's made an impact on your life and your business. Who would like to start?
Well, I found myself working with robots around 15, 18 years ago, mainly in the military service and dealing with unmanned systems at scale. And this is the area where we came from. And mainly my personal goal was to see, okay, how can we implement those capabilities that we've seen in other markets. When we founded Blue White 5 years ago, we understood that change is happening in many verticals, and we tried to see where would be the most addressable place as for pain on one side, where it can really create a factor and make an impact on one side. And on the second thing that we asked ourselves, okay, is the technology that is available, can it really make it happen in the near future? So, and after exploring urban mobility, first responders, oil and gas, and ag, we saw that all the stars are aligning here, and we're very happy for this decision. So this is why we're here right now.
I came into robotics when I started working on the farm, so that would have been almost 10 years ago. I took kind of ownership of some of these automated equipment, weeders primarily to start, and it was equipment that wasn't running very well. They didn't have an engineering department or any engineers on staff at all. So starting with that, bringing it, making it work and profitable for us, we kind of grew that whole fleet. We've branched out from weeding into harvesting and spraying, excuse me. And doing that and seeing how technology's grown. I mean, in 10 years, we didn't have anything that could drive itself, and now there's a bunch of options. It really gives you a kind of a hope for the future of what's coming next, and keeping you excited. It's exciting to be involved in.
We got started in technology about 10 years ago. Our family has been renting and selling farm equipment and servicing and supporting that farm equipment throughout California and Arizona. We've been doing that for 20 years. So when some of our customers came to us and said, we need to figure out a way to automate and get some automation in here, we found some great partner over in Denmark, Frank Poulsen, with Robovator, and we brought his product over, and we found out that a lot of farmers have breakdowns of this, and they don't understand the technology. So we were their advocate here to be that representative for the people that are over across the pond, because the farmers get frustrated. They have a breakdown and they want to be able to call somebody, and they want to have a local number, and they don't understand when if they got it from Germany, when the Germans are going to be awake, or when we should call them. Or so we're that advocate for them, and really helped refine the Robovator, and tried a couple different business models, and it was kind of the same thing as what we did with the tractors. Just it's now with technology, and we've been doing it for about 8 years now, so we've really figured out the process of what the farmer likes, and it continues to change with the models, and hopefully we'll talk about that shortly.
I started my career in horticulture 35 years ago and started at the bottom of the pile, so there's nothing in the horticultural or special tree crop area I haven't done, from sitting on sprayers to planting plants to pruning, all the way through that process. And during that time, I was able to grow a very substantial amount of businesses just with being smart and listening and learning. But I was really fortunate early to be involved in a management role in a company I worked for to do all the extension from R&D, taking products and new things into the orchards and actually making them work. And that really gave me a really great insight into how do you adapt these new technologies, how do you assess them, how do you look at the value of them, are they saving money, are they making money? And then as I grew from orchard management companies to owning post-harvest operations and proprietary fruit varieties, I really started back in about 2008. You could really see the change around labour. When I was taught about managing an orchard, it was about plant husbandry, it was about the health of the plant. But what was happening was it was becoming all about how to manage labour and do the best you can with the labour you have. It was a real switch. And so autonomy really interests me. When looking around New Zealand universities, and I found my co-founder, Dr. Alistair Scarf, and said to him, he did a project on, proved to me that we could harvest kiwi fruit robotically. He did that project for his PhD, finished that in 2013. I said, let's go start a robotics company that's really solve these problems. I'm really passionate about growing and really want to see the long-term sustainability and really understand the pressures that are on us now across many facets, not just labour.
Thank you, Chrissy, for moderating our session, and thanks to the event organizers and to my esteemed panelists. The way I came to robotics is actually through my son. He was involved in FIRST Robotics. I'm not sure if any of you participated in that program in your education, but it is a competition program for high school students, and I was a business mentor for his team. Professionally, Edney Distributing is a 71-year-old fourth-generation family company, and part of my role is spotting new technology, new trends, and suppliers from all around the world, and bringing that innovative equipment to dealers and end users in the upper Midwest. Growing markets, growing brand awareness, and introducing new technology is something that's in my blood. It's something I'm passionate about. In the 1970s, one example of bringing technology in and helping people understand it and gain acceptance for new practices, we were given the opportunity to sell the first zero-turn lawnmower. And at the time, we brought that lawnmower around to dealers, we demonstrated it to end users, and people told us, well, that's not a lawnmower, it doesn't have a steering wheel. So we hear pushback, we hear some resistance to change, but there are always new things on the horizons and better ways to do things, and I'm committed to finding those and offering them and helping suppliers find a market for their product.
Great, thank you all for sharing, and I've prepared separate questions for each of you. So Jennifer, we're going to start with you. As a wholesale distributor of high quality equipment, what role do you see wholesale distributors playing in this shift towards autonomous agricultural equipment? And in your opinion, what will it take to get more of this equipment in fields?
Sure, well, I do want to note, I don't see many of my distributor colleagues in this room, so I will speak for us as an industry broadly. I am a past president of the Equipment Marketing and Distribution Association and did serve on that board of directors for 6 years. So I wanted to start by saying that I'm just so happy to be with all of you this week and have a front row seat to this revolution in agriculture. In my heart, I do believe that all farms of the future and the logistics that wrap around them will be autonomous. Together, we are creating the future of farming. From where I sit in the upper Midwest in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the shift towards precision robotics and autonomy has already begun. I'm seeing autonomous grain carts that follow combines, drones for scouting and spot spraying, and precision planting and application equipment gaining traction. With 9 billion people projected to be on the planet by 2050, we need to work together to feed a hungry world, to be good stewards of the environment, to keep workers safe, and to continue agriculture's role as the backbone of the economy. So how do we get from here to there, and what roles can distributors play? Well, distributors, like Edney Distributing, can help suppliers get their product to market. We have relationships with dealer networks that go back for decades and generations. We've put in the time to build trust. We have expertise in pricing, marketing, importing. We can help with purchasing and after-sales support. And we have teams to help create brand awareness and warehouses for local supply of machines and parts. We also have capital to invest. We have time and people and resources. We also have a passion for innovation and a commitment to solving problems.
That's great. And Stephen, you're next. Your experience in horticulture and orchard management has given you the opportunity to see a lot of change over the years. And how has robotics changed the business models of the people that you work with?
It's a good question. I mean, a lot of my experience is more around tree and vine crops, so I'll speak on that basis. But I guess we're just really seeing the start of robotics automation in the orchard. But if I step back, I think where we've seen the most advance for us has been in the post-harvest area. So, audible robotic box stackers and robotic fruit packers, which we developed some of that technology as well. So really starting off, it's been getting those efficiencies within the pack houses, but the orchards have still always been lagging, because I think different to broadacre, specialty crops has had this cheap labour for such a long time, and that proposition is changing, and the environments are so much more complex than big open fields, and every crop is different in the way you harvest it and the way you touch it. So it's, there's a lot of complexity in starting to solve those problems. So I guess what I've been most excited about is over the years, being able to take different technologies like artificial pollination and develop models around that and take that global. It's giving a lot of insights just about how do we do this stuff, this adoptability. How hard it is to get, you've got to really work through well, be thinking about all the simple things, because it has to be simple. Although the environment and what you're doing is really complex, it's also got to be really, really simple in terms of the solution that you're given. So I think we're really, if you think about special tree crops at the moment, there's probably only about 1,000 odd robotic systems globally actually in the fields now. Because a lot of startups here, a lot of the technology here are in the early 50 to 200 machines out in market. It's just really starting to come to fruition now. So I think really excited by that. What we've really had to work on is really understanding. It's really understanding what are you trying to solve, what is the value proposition. Is it saving labour? Is it increasing value? Or is it doing both? Through the orchard management company, I always used to have this, we always used to look, well, if we did this task in the orchard and it cost us $1, but by the end of the year we could make $3 from that. It was always a really good argument to the grower to say, well, hey, invest $1 a day and you get $3 at the end of 12 months. That's a pretty compelling argument. So it's really trying to understand those models. And I think there is no single model. I think there's multiple models that we have to look at from business models. It's everything from outright sale to outright sale plus subscription to rentals to robotics as a service. I think there's a place for all these models in different parts of the value chain, depending on the size of operations, depending on the task that you're trying to do. So it's very complicated, and having those insights of actually being a grower and actually being very connected across all parts of the value chain. It's also understanding if we solve this problem robotically, is it creating bottlenecks upstream or downstream as well? So it's not just here's a solution, that you solve that solution, but then the pack house can't keep up or this can't keep up. So you've also got to look at the whole operation holistically, and then it's also understanding the data models and how does that start to play in the overall scheme of things. The key for me is I think. Subscription is something that growers, I think, are going to have to get their head around. You know, software, as you bring these technologies through, software is a cost. It's got to be continue to be updated, continue to be improved, new insights, new learnings that come through. And once you've bought the unit, you know, it's that question about, well, I brought the unit and it does this basic functionality, but these things are intelligent machines that are going to continue to learn and continue to make improvements and efficiency gains. So, you know, our view is that, you know, outright purchases or lease or whatever that, the actual buying the hardware pieces is there'll be different models for that, but there's also the subscription piece that we have to get our heads around as we go forward, because that's an ongoing cost, and you can really get a lot more value out of those insights as the machines progress with its learning. I'll probably just leave it there.
Yeah, those are great points, Steve. The next question is for Matt. As lead engineer on a farm, your perspective is different than a manufacturer or service provider, of course. And according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, agriculture is the deadliest profession in the United States. And despite Monarch Tractor's recent petition to Cal and OSHA being denied, it is clear that the future of autonomous machinery is safer for the labor force. So with that in mind, how is technology helping to solve labor issues on farm, and what areas still need improvement?
That's a big one. The farm's a hazardous place. It doesn't matter if it's automated. I mean, we make everything as safe as we can. I've had automated equipment hurt people just as bad as dumb equipment. You never want to see it happen, but it's an inherent danger to the systems, right? We have a lot of technology in the weeding space in production agriculture. For us, we're all row crop vegetable, right? We do a little bit of berries and fruit. There's automation coming in that. They're traditionally high labor areas. The biggest one for us moving forward is in harvesting. And there are no great solutions for us in harvesting. We have harvest aids, things that will help us do that more efficiently, from auto wrappers and lifters to help aid in the cutting. But the actual harvesting itself and not damaging product is critical for us. And you know, we've become really dependent on that H2A program. We have almost 2,000 H2A workers across the farm, and we have to house them, we have to feed them, we have to transport them. So anything that helps alleviate that is going to be crucial. As far as OSHA and the autonomous platform, it's just a stepping stone that we have to get past. There are solutions out there. There are people who are working on it, trying to get the variance allowed. It's the same thing. We have a variance for cruise controls, we call them, and all it is a remote control for a tractor. The variance says we have to go below a certain speed within range of viewing the tractor and have remote control of it. And all we can do is start, stop, speed up. That's speed up, slow down. But that allows us to get one person off the tractor. There's another body we can use elsewhere, because it's not about getting rid of all the labor. It's about allocating it to where it's needed most. And right now, that's in harvesting for us. So, what else you want?
No, that's great. Thank you so much. Bartley, the next question is for you. Your family has a deep history in ag rental equipment, and you've made high-tech equipment available now to the smaller farm. So how is that changing the business models for the small grower, but also for your company?
Yeah, great question. Thank you for that. Talking to a farmer this morning, and he asked me, he said, what's happening with the larger farms? And I said, well, obviously they're getting bigger. Customer consolidation is one thing we've been looking at for a long time now. And he said, so what do you think's happening with the smaller farms? I'm like, I think they're getting smaller. And he says, no, they're getting bigger. That's what the data is showing us, that the smaller farms are getting bigger, just because we're having to, if we're gonna go through and feed the amount of people we have to feed by 2050, we're going to have to grow more. How do we grow more crops with what we have? The larger farms like being in larger areas because there's the people are there, the labor is there, they can get efficiencies of scale. We're going to need the smaller farms to go to these smaller areas, these micro areas, to grow crops for 90, 120 days per year, and that's it. So we were, the last panel here with Western Growers and CIT was talking about the need for technology to come down to these smaller growers as well. And to me, that's where we come into play. We go out and we partner with people that have great technology. We buy that technology, and then we go rent that technology to the smaller farmers. Bigger farmers, Mark Borman from Taylor Farms is saying, well, what do we do with Plan B? You know, technology is expensive. Again, I would say, rent that technology and let us be your backup for that, and let us worry about the utilization. I had a T-shirt made up that it said, if it farms or if it floats or if it flies, then rent that. You know, and I think that's a model that a lot of people are looking at now, saying it's nicer just to have and rent these packages for my crops when I need them. And this allows the smaller farmer who can't afford the big technology, some of these weeders that we're talking about, you know, $250,000, $350,000 for the smaller ones, didn't finish, and then we have another one that's 1.4 million. So the smaller guys, how are they going to get the utilization out of that? You know, and it's an awesome weeder, does an awesome job, but they can't really afford that and remain competitive. So how do they remain competitive in this landscape? Because the smaller farms are growing and the larger farms know that's part of their support structure. How do all ships rise in a rising tide? And I think by using the rental model, we will rent that technology to them, and we've tried it on doing it as a service. We weren't quite successful with that. But it seems like the farmers' needs change, whether that's a subscription base or renting it by the month or turning it into a purchase. We can work with all those things. So I think when the new inventors come in and they bring their stuff to Western growers saying, hey, I got this great new thing, what do they do next? And I think you need a channel partner, and I think that's where we come into play with the technology, to be that channel partner to take that product and get it out to the agriculture community. We're in 7 states in Mexico, and so we have a wide footprint. We know which farmers like technology and which ones don't. So since we're not a John Deere dealer or a specific dealer, we're agnostic. So we can use any brand, any make, and allows us to have that honest conversation with the farmer. If I'm a John Deere guy, nothing against John Deere, we got a lot of John Deere stuff, but if I'm a John Deere guy, I have to tell you that John Deere is awesome and everything else is not. You know that's a lie, and I know that's a lie. So I like having an honest conversation with the farmer saying, this works great here, this works great here, this is what we found, but if you want a pink Cadillac, you know, what shade of pink? Let's go help the farmer either increase efficiency or lower their cost. One of those two things, and they'll adapt to the technology.
Great answers. And Ben, this question is for you. As a combat pilot working with unmanned systems for over a decade, your experience is developed with the technology. So how did your transition from combat to farming using autonomous technology, how does it change the profitability of the farms that you serve?
I think the main reason would be that I've seen how the story ends on the other side, and it ended well. You know, instead of investing, you know, $2 or $3 million on me just to take off and land and do all the mistakes, we managed to create capabilities with 18 years old boys and girls. In 3 weeks, they do things with unmanned system much better and for longer sustainable time. As for numbers also, when I started my job in unmanned system, around 15% of flight hours were unmanned systems. And when I finished the job, 95% of operational flight hours in the Israeli Air Force, and 4 times the flight hours are unmanned systems. Okay, so we've seen disruption, we've seen what does it mean, and I don't know, the only thing I can reflect it here is dial phone and smartphone. So you've seen it in a way, so this was the main trigger. And the second is, okay, how do we do that? And yes, technology, yes, a lot of investment in all kinds of buzzwords like machine learning and AI, etc. But the bottom line is the discussion that we're doing here, okay? How do we make it that I can do this leap in a way that is okay with all the stakeholders? And you see all kinds of stakeholders here. We have the growers, and we have, also venture capitals or angels saying, okay, will I see the money ever in a way? And the 3 pillars over there are use maximum assets of what you have already. Okay, you have in your, like you talked about the rentals, you have assets that you plan there to be for, I don't know, 20 years, or etc., or 15 years, or 10 years, or 5 years.
Hopefully 5, it
Or
lasts. You break down
until
the
you
line.
move it all. But at least it wasn't for a 1-year solution. Okay, so it's huge investments. So how do I maximize those assets? This is one. The second is connectivity, or how do I make things flexible enough? I don't want to say, okay, you need to use this color, like in your podcast, or do I need to use this type of implement? We need flexibility. This is the second one, connectivity and flexibility. And the last one is, how do I embrace the capability? So it's not, hey, enjoy, here's a new technology. It's how do we give the ability to know how to operate this capability? Start, the crawl, walk, run attitude. Okay, this is what we know how to do. Now try to around it. Go around spraying, go around mowing, then upgrade to harvesting. How do I also treat the idea of who is the operator? We want to move from pilots and from tractor drivers to robot operators, and we want to make it as simple as possible. So all those 3 ideas of maximize capabilities, connectivity, and upscale, and also the robot as a service, or the ability to embrace capability, this is what I found that really made it happen. And what we find also here, we're doing 5-year contracts with the customers, saying, okay, this is the roadmap, this is what you're expected to see. You're not going to see flying vehicles at day 1, and not also after 5 years. This is the capability. Start of, okay, what can I tick off? And it depends on different crops, or different implements, or different geographies. For you, okay, how much will it make for me, okay? How does it, and it's on the ROI side. How do I do it on the ROI side? We're trying to take the production costs that are huge anyway and tackle those and say, okay, you have already only half of the people you need anyway, and the cost is half. Let's take this half of people that you have and maximize the productivity. So we can compare certain expense to another expense. So that's on their side. And when, for example, on our side, when we take existing vehicles, transform them to autonomy, make them connected, and we are agnostic to any color, now from that, it doesn't cost me as an entrepreneur, it doesn't cost the venture capital who invested in me so much money to do this leap, and we can create capability at day 1. So this playground that we have here, which is a huge playground, and the success of it is, humanity is depending on this success. It's only by doing those type of, okay, ticking all the boxes together and taking it in a step-by-step approach. That's about it.
Excellent points. Thanks so much. And now we're going to shift from business models to the maintenance of computer-based equipment. And producers often lament over the days when they could actually fix their own equipment, when mechanics were a lot simpler in the past. So for each of you, use your own area of expertise, and what are some real ways that growers can confidently move forward and embrace this new technology on their farms and implement either preventative maintenance, workforce development, warehousing, to make their farms more profitable?
I think they said it earlier when they were talking about bringing in a new equipment. For every new piece of technology that they brought in, they had to hire a new engineer. So you have 10 pieces of equipment, you have 10 engineers. And every single thing that we brought in has fallen on now a team. So it started out with, in our organization, it was me. So I did anything that happened at our cooling facility and packing lines. maintenance, anything that went in the production, anything that was done in harvesting. We grew that into a production engineering position. So then we brought in another guy. Now he's in charge of weeding and thinning. Now in harvesting, we brought in another guy, and he's in charge of harvesting equipment. Then in the cooler, the same thing. But as we get more and more equipment, it doesn't make sense to keep hiring engineers. It makes sense to kind of train your operators to do the brunt of the work for you. You know, you don't need an engineer to go and change a solenoid. You don't need one to tell you your tracks are wearing out. But the guy that spends the most time on that machine is with it every day. He's going to learn the little tricks and the nuances of all the equipment, how to set it up just right, how to tweak it to change for a different crop condition or a different field. And for us, that's really grown how well we can adopt and utilize this technology is, you know, trusting the operators, the day-to-day guys, to be able to keep this stuff running. And we're there to make sure it's running optimally, but we're not there all the time. And the equipment has to be simple enough for someone like that to be able to do. It's not everybody that can run it, but those that can run it well, that's where they end up. Preventative maintenance is huge on this kind of equipment. Spare parts stock, huge. You know, anymore, it's not like you just change the oil, right? Keeping spare sensors, little actuators, you know, we have a wall of stuff for anything and everything we do. But getting that on a cycle where we're just, you know, you have one bearing go out on this, you change all four. And just minimizing the downtime. This equipment's expensive. The more we can run it, the longer we can run it, the better off we are. We've looked at double shifting equipment. That brings a whole nother challenge and range of issues that we're going to keep going. That's how we need to move forward with stuff like this, is how do we best utilize it and how can we keep it going as much as possible.
Yeah, and out of curiosity, are you finding good feedback loops with the manufacturers you work with?
Yeah, we have good relationships with most everyone we work with.
Yeah, that's important. It's important for manufacturers to also take in too that you always need this feedback, right?
Yeah. And we'll bring manufacturers out and we'll show them, you know, the issues we're having, give them our suggestions. Some stuff they actually implement into further, like, newer models, and it's really nice to see. So
great. Who wants to go next?
Well, I talk a little bit on the equipment. Yeah, it's you know, we're paying our mechanics now $45, $55 an hour for that. You know, back in the good old days when we had John Deere 2755s, you could use a hammer and a Phillips screwdriver and fix everything. You can't do that anymore. Now we have laptops, we have computers, we have JD Link that's telling us what's wrong. We have our own proprietary system that's hooking up to the CAN bus, so it doesn't matter whether it's a blue tractor, a red tractor, a purple tractor, whatever. It's the error codes are coming back to us, or mechanics are going out there with the parts in hand to try and get that uptime back up again, because we want to be the front line. I mean, I appreciate that these guys at Betaravia have adapted to technology. You see how they're changing, how they do what they do in order to maximize technology. They've added that, they fixed their org chart problem. Here's the org chart. You've got the irrigator and the farmer. You're bringing out new technology and they're like, yeah, I don't have anybody. So they have to go hire that other person. They bring that engineer, and once they do that, then you can really start to maximize that technology. But what I like to do is, does the farmer really need to focus on being an equipment provider, or do they need to focus on farming? So I'm trying to say, hey, how can we help out in this role? Let them be the first line of defense, let us be the second line of defense, and help keep their equipment up and running again, or at least have a backup in case plan A goes down, then you have plan B. But farmers are losing their mechanics. Mechanics at a farmer's ranch, they're paying $25 an hour. I'm not. I have to pay a lot more because the John Deere mechanics and the Case IH mechanics are paying $60, $65 an hour. So you're competing against that. So you're losing your mechanics. You're losing your good mechanics, and now they have to have a laptop to plug into them. All of our mechanics have laptops now, so we can see what's happening with the tractor. Right when they get there, that's one of the first things they do. So it's a changing dynamic. It's changing fast. With technology, it brings on a whole other specter that you have to go through and look at and say, we have to have the parts. We have to have the circuit boards. It's no longer just having a guy with the Snap-on toolbox. You got to have the guy that has the Xbox. right? That has all the parts and the components and the sensors and the RAM and all the other stuff that goes along with it in order to make that data work. And a lot of that stuff we can do over the air. So it's really amazing where technology is going to. It's just making it a lot more difficult for the farmer to keep up with that and keep that equipment up and running, just because they can't afford to have that many engineers working there just on their specific equipment.
So for us, the focus with Robotics Plus is really, and being a grower, is really about how do we make this automation simple. Our focus has really been on modularity, so what we've been really building in the background over a period of time is how can we make this technology really modular so it's just really easy to swap things out, and it's not complex and it's not complicated. So our platform's a modular platform. We've been developing a multi-tool platform, and then when we look at the mechanics of our platform, we've really looked at really simple things. We're a hybrid technology, so we have a diesel motor that anyone can do an oil change on. It drives a power generator. All our electric drive systems are sealed for life. There's not a grease nipple on our machine, there's not a hydraulic hose on our machine. It's your standard sprayer maintenance, or your standard mower maintenance, and it's a diesel oil change. When we look at I guess the computer-based technologies and the power drive systems and those sorts of things, you know, we've customized all our electric drive systems with much heavier windings, with more torque and more ag-friendly. When we look at our compute brain module, that's a module with high quality connections in the back. If we have a brain problem with the machine, you unplug the back, you take the module out, you put the next module in and plug it in. So spare modules on hand. Same with the power system. The power brain is the same thing. It's a module. These things are sealed in heavy casing to deal with all the various environmental things. So it's this really simplistic modularity that we've been really focused on, and really minimising that maintenance. And then, you know, with technology through the cloud, software backups, all that sort of stuff, remote support, all those things are built into that model as well. And then I think also important to us is the partnership. So we're very keen on partnering. So as we work with growers, is that integration process. So actually having people available to actually go through a really good integration process on the orchard with the technology, the training, and making sure that people, you know, really understand the tech, and it's really simple to operate, really simple to be able to swap these components out and simplify life as much as possible. And then working with our other partnerships in terms of the suppliers of product to us, ensuring that where they're going with their roadmaps, testing, ensuring we've got really good, robust, high quality components that can last the journey as well, because, you know, these ag environments are pretty aggressive, and I laughed with you, Bartley, when suggested 20 years with a tractor, and hopefully they'll last 5, but it's pretty tough. So, you know, we've taken a lot of that into account in that design. So it's really, and I think technology is getting a lot better, that we can start to understand this stuff more and actually do a better job of it. But I think it's the approach, you know, don't make it complex. They're, like I said, they're complex machines, but make them simple. And that's really been our focus where we've been heading. So it's really about partnerships with the grower, partnerships with the manufacturer, partnership with the supplying of parts, and it's also that integration process. So, you know, we look at that whole process, and you know, hopefully deliver a really great product and a great experience.
That makes sense.
Jumping off on the idea of providing a great experience, I like alliteration, so I picked 5 P's for how we can introduce this technology and best support it. The first one is people. I think we need to focus on workforce development by preparing students and people that are players in the industry today. I think we can also look to other industries like manufacturing, mining, and warehousing, who have already deployed autonomy successfully. I think we all need to have some patience. It takes time to build relationships and test equipment in a variety of regions and applications, and there's a great value in that collaboration. Partnership between the makers, investors, industry, academics, government, and the growers. One great example of this can be found in North Dakota. There's an initiative there called Grand Farm, and that is a collaboration between private businesses, the government, and a university system there. And it's their goal to create a prototype of the first fully autonomous farm. They're actually breaking ground on that today, and we're proud to be a partner with them and with NIO to start testing and developing products and data there. The state of North Dakota also announced an autonomous corridor between Fargo and Grand Forks, North Dakota. It sounds unlikely. It's really unpleasant to drive in January with the wind and the snow and the ice, but the investments they're making there in research and study are really compelling. The last P is performance and profits. I think we need to keep our promises. Right now, as we're working with early adopters and researchers, it's easier for manufacturers to have a closer relationship with those growers and those individual machines. But as you come to scale, as I believe that you will, that's going to become more difficult because you're going to have so many machines in the field. So you need help, and you need to stand behind your equipment in order to develop that relationship. So distributors can help you there. We're a force multiplier. So you train us and we can train the staff at the dealers, at the dealer level. Those dealers know and understand the growers. They care about their success and they deeply understand their conditions and they want to help. So using your partners so you can grow to the size that you want to be will be important. The other part of performance there is profits. So we need to be able to demonstrate ROI. And some of the ways that I think we can do that are showing savings from reduced inputs from fuel and fertilizer, increasing workplace safety, increasing productivity, and increasing the yield.
Excellent.
Well, what I think we heard from the team here is all the consideration we are trying to get for two basic goals. One is availability. We want to make sure that those vehicles are available when needed. And what is the cost, whether on time or actual dollars, to get this availability. And it comes, and I'm summing up a lot of things that have been given here, is it becomes on the system engineering of whatever robot or whatever application. It has to be modular and it has to be very simple for the immediate fix. Meaning, okay, it's either I have a built-in test that says this is the problem, I know how, and this is and do this and that. And when I want to do it, it has to be I'm pulling a tray, entering a tray, keeping my job done, and I'll think about it later. This is the ideation about that. And then the second tier is to have the levels of support in consideration of expertise, how much expertise is needed, and what is the availability that is needed. So it's a level 1 support at the shop, at the field. Okay, we are giving this level 1. These are the things you need to do. This is the checklist prior, and this is the post whenever something is happening. Then there is what we call the local hub geography tier, whether it's us or a dealership or whoever there to support it. And in parallel, you have the ability on the cloud, okay? Whatever is the software, whatever is something that lesson learned from another farm or something like that, okay? Let's do discrete update or discrete fix that it just happened and you didn't even see that it happened, whether it's while the vehicle was just at the shop before it comes to the second job or just after. So these are the layers from the models and how we make it happen on that side. And I totally, what you guys said about from the piece to the modularity and the idea of, okay, it's all about what is the price about it is it's totally crucial. Upside, which I would, and we see numbers on that, robots tend to fail less than manned operation. Okay, we don't burn clutch, okay, as an example. Okay, it's small examples that because it's being behaved in a way, and it's being behaved in a way that is already pre-known, we can also expect preemptive maintenance. We can also get some kind of expectations, and it comes along with hours of expertise. So unlike, for example, discussions 3 years ago or 2 years ago, when it was just the beginning with a lot of, now we see companies like us and others who have tens of thousands of actual operation. We already know how, okay, what to expect and when, and to preemptive, to have everything preempted in a way. So I'm very optimistic also on the effort and the amount of effort that is needed. Just other example, the effort on electric engines in comparison to that. This is what you'll see also, and this is what we will see in the robotics industry.
Great, thank you all for the insight. That was awesome. And we'll open it up for questions now. We've got a mic runner here, that's good.
Hello, so Erwin from UC Davis, we got a kind of like an interesting statistics of connectivity in a previous talk, where they indicate that around 25% of the farms are connected in the US. Of course, everybody claims that 5G is going to be the future solution and so on. So that's my first question. Are you aware of what's the connectivity and if those values are fairly accurate? And the other question is, you talked about electrification, and which farms, based on your experience, are prepared for that, for electrification, and can we move quite quickly into that direction? Thanks.
Electrification, we are not ready for. The number, we've looked at it, the number of hubs, the charging, the distance, the run times, it's just not there for us yet. Connectivity, we're good on. I have a mesh network over like 10,000 acres, and I can pick up anywhere and anything. It all ties back into our own internal network. So I can see what's running, where it's running, and diagnose most any problem from my computer. So we're ahead of the curve on that one, I think. But I don't think there's a lot of, in our area, many others like that. So.
I'll go for it. The idea with the connectivity, I think, is that the technology is available, and once needed, you can do it. And you can also do it in a way that it doesn't cost you a lot. Okay, so this is what we see. The need for connectivity is there. And this is, so when you're coming with a single vehicle solution, you need to, and you are the first in the farm, you need to be able to come over also with the connectivity solution and to give this value proposition, whether by joining hands with someone or just being it part of your value proposition at the beginning. So that's what we see.
I haven't seen a lot of farms that are ready for electrification yet. I think electrification is interesting. It seems like that's where all the push is right now. I just don't see a lot of tractors being, I see it in small tractors and large tractors. We just don't have the density of power that is in there. You're getting a 2 hour, hour and a half runtime, then you got to charge it for 8 hours. So we have to have a whole new infrastructure for swapping batteries. How are we going to bring that electricity out there? We're having a hard enough time. I mean, go to Walmart, right? And look at all the charging stations that they have there. Is that what the farm of tomorrow is going to look like? I don't know that we're ready for that yet. On smaller applications, 50, 100 horsepower and below, something like Monarch is attacking. I think those could work. It just we're a long ways away from that, from what I see in our dealings with farms.
Yeah, I agree with Pete. been on the connectivity, and in terms of what we're doing, we've taken a hybrid approach because of that electrification problem. So, we're a diesel motor driving a power generation, so we're fully electric drive systems, full electric, and at some point when that infrastructure's there or the technology is actually better, where that battery tech can actually have longer performance, then we can easily swap that module out. But at the moment, we've really looked at it and said a hybrid approach is a really good approach to solve that. So we're getting the benefits of the electric drive systems, which gives you incredible control and torque control, regenerative braking, a whole lot of things, but it's actually driven by a diesel engine. And that diesel engine doesn't need to run at the revs and the power outputs that the standard do, because you're really only running a power generation, a generator, and so depending on the power draw will depend on really how many revs you have to run. So we actually get quite a lot of efficiency in terms of fuel use as well in that model. So just an alternative to electrification.
I agree with my fellow panelists. In the Midwest, I don't know the statistics exactly, but there are certainly large pockets of areas that lack connectivity. In fact, our company was exhibiting at Farm Technology Days in Wisconsin, and we wanted to demonstrate a piece of equipment that used RTK from cell service, and we didn't have signal and we couldn't do it. We had to run it manually, so that was disappointing. I think that's changing. There's a lot of investment in rural connectivity, so hopefully over time that will rapidly change, but it is a current issue today. As far as electrification, I think it needs to pencil out for the growers. The farmers that we serve and support in our region are fiercely independent people, and I think the message coming to them of this is a way you can take back some control and have some independence might be one paired with the economics to make that work. So solar panels and wind will all help in the electrification process, but again, I do think that is a matter of time.
Another question?
Hello. I'm a PhD student at UC Merced, so I'm very much an outsider to this, so forgive me if it's a naive question, but it's one thing that I've been very curious about hearing how the fee-for-service model has potential to bring technology to smaller operations or operations who are more sensitive to risk from the investment side, the capital investment side. How is this, may you help me understand how it works around, say, harvest time when there's lots of demand for equipment? What would that look in practice? Managing the demand among lots of operations who would need access to the equipment.
I mean, to us, to meet the demand for harvesting applications, I'd say we're almost like gypsies. We take our tractors and we move them north and south. Right now, we're moving all of our equipment from the Salinas Valley down to Yuma, Arizona, and Imperial. That's the next area that's going to be harvesting, with a short little hop over here in the Fresno area before going down there. So that's just what we do. That's the logistics that our company does to go through and make sure that people have the equipment when they need the equipment. So hopefully that answered the question.
On the business model, just to add, alongside maximizing utilization of your equipment that we've seen here, we just take and compare. Okay, just in general, you see a grower who has anything between 5 vehicles to 500 vehicles, and the operational costs that he tackles is on the labor cost, the production, on the utilities, or the amount of vehicles that he needs. Those are the three main costs that he spends during the year. And now if I can take these costs and offer 50% of a service model against that, of, okay, the robot will do the aftermarket kit on your existing vehicle, and you don't need 100 vehicles. 70 vehicles will do to do all that job, and it will be half of the cost of a yearly cost of a tractor operator for a certain vehicle, and you pay for it on a quarterly basis. There you get it. Okay, the operational cost is automatically from day one 50% less, and on our side, we know how to. The cost on our side and the effort that we have done, we know that it can be also profitable from day one on the unit economics on our side, so everybody has a win-win situation.
All right, another question?
Hello, Val King with Swan Systems, and my question is related to the maintenance and calibration of the equipment. Are there companies that don't exist today that are needed to do that, or are there opportunities for young people to start new companies?
Hey, Val. I would say I think there is an opportunity, especially with the smaller farmers that don't have the integrator, like Matt was saying that he has for his business. They have 4 or 5 integrators. They have one for the weeding already. These smaller farmers, they can't afford that, and I think there is going to be potential for younger kids coming out of school that have the passion to get into technology and being able to fill that void with these smaller farmers. Remember, we're increasing in small farms, not decreasing in small farms. So I think that's going to be a great business model for programming those. They're just going to have some ag background to understand how they're doing it for the soil type, for the conditions that are there, for the crop that is there, and what the farmer is trying to achieve with the technology.
My question today is a little bit about subscription model, right? I mean, there's ongoing service and support. Bart's organization does that very, very well. As manufacturers, or even from the farmer perspective, what's the target as a percentage for subscription-based services on an annual basis versus the acquisition cost of the equipment?
I mean, for us, I think it comes down to each model, and depending how you're rolling that model out and what your ongoing costs of updating software and maintaining it. So I think that's really down to each of the independent companies in terms of how their model is working. For us, as I said earlier, subscription I think is you know, people have to get their head around that. It's going to have to happen, because you can't just keep maintaining these systems out of the sky if you've sold the piece of equipment as a capital piece. So we just look at buy the capital piece or lease it, or whatever the arrangement is, and then there's just an ongoing subscription. And the way we look at it is we just encourage a base subscription to cover the basics of software. You've got licenses to pay, you know, other parts of the system. So and then, you know, we could have a model where, in fact, we have a base subscription plus an hourly subscription, but that may be capped at a point in time, because it's a good incentive for us, for example, to make sure you're utilising the equipment as many hours as possible. So that really gets you better engagement and buy-in, you know, between the grower and the participator. So, you know, there's lots of different ways you can approach it. So, and I've seen lots of different subscription models out there. For me, for us, the subscription is not not charging some huge amount on subscription. There's a reality cost to the ongoing development of software, the updating, bringing new insights and releasing those as quick as possible to growers to get better efficiency.
I love this question, because until 2 years ago, the risk that we had is, will subscription will be even, isn't it a foul word in some places? So getting to the ideation of, okay, what is the ratio? Okay, I'm good with this type of discussion. And the answer is, there is no goal. The goal is to create value for all stakeholders, okay? So just be flexible and be available for this model and for this model, or for a ratio between those models, or a mediator that will take any type of model just to mediate this thing. This is how it goes. What does happen and what should happen should be transparency. Shouldn't be like nickel and dime. Oh, you want this? Ah, it's another. Yeah, it's another. Okay, this shouldn't be like that. We cannot force ourselves to buy another phone every year or another capability every year. Just to say, I want to have some kind of, to give some kind of trust to the grower in a way that, okay, we will make sure that those capabilities will keep on bringing it to you. It will be the same amount of cost or alternative saving that you were imagining. And on your side, we want you to guarantee a long-term relationship, because we are investing on this long-term relationship. We're not coming for those first 4 or 10 vehicles. We're not coming for 1 year. We're coming to establish long-term capabilities altogether. So that's the ballpark of the idea, and this is what we found that is really happening today in a way. So, I don't know. If you want, it will be a 50-50 if you want a number.
All right, one more?
Yeah, I get a question, yes. Hey guys, thank you so much for the panel today. I'm Morgan, a computer engineer from Cal Poly, working on a project called Tractor Cloud. My question today has to do with downtime. So basically, if you're a large equipment provider, whether you're doing it as a service, you're renting equipment, or if you're just a large grower with a ton of stuff, downtime comes down to logistics, transportation, and then also due to failure. So obviously, the more people you have on staff, especially smart people, less downtime due to failure and due to transportation, but those people come at a cost. So what can someone like that, a large equipment provider, do to increase the leverage with their existing staff to be able to get more bang for their buck with equipment?
So first of all, 2 rows ahead of you is our cloud manager in Blue White, and the main idea is that you can do a lot of fixing and troubleshooting from the cloud from any place. Okay, so the idea is how do I increase the availability, even for labor, the actual work. It was very man-oriented tractor operators, and today we have robot operators with such diversity, disabled, men, women, everybody at whatever age that can also do it. So it's on the operations side, on the tech and the dev support side that we're looking at it. And it doesn't compare to the downtime of lunch or gathering for a kumbaya near the spare refill. So, so we see really the downtime effect is even the biggest effect is the biggest on the downtime that we see it. So it's on those 3 areas of local downtime and remote downtime, and in the geography in the hub downtime that we're looking at.
I would say also partnering with local companies that can provide you with quick service to, whether that's 30 minutes, 45 minutes away. We try and have our places set up every 45 minutes. We're going to have, that's the longest time to get to you. But right now with the supply chain issues, it's not so much about getting there. It's about, I mean, our washing machine is broken home right now. My wife is freaking out because we can't get a resistor or something. So it's the supply chain issues that's really hurting us. We've got 3 tractors that can't have windshields in them from John Deere right now. So those are just sitting. So it's a different world now that we're living in because of these supply chain issues. Is that going to fix at some point? But it's just another thing that's impacting the farmer. So we almost have to have 2 tractors, Morgan. If you want 1 tractor, I get you 1, but I got to have another one sitting by. So that's not economical for me, and it increases my cost. So to me, I think it's having the understanding from the farmer that they understand that we're going to have some supply chain issues, and we're going to try and get your tractor up and running as quickly as possible, or the technology up and running as quickly as possible. It's saying that we just have little things that we slide in and slide out to get those things back up and running again, and that works for most of the part until it doesn't. And then when it doesn't, what do we do there? And that is going to plan B and making sure we have more parts in the truck, and if not, how can we get you a replacement as quick as we can? So that's something that we focus on daily, because he will yell at me if I have a tractor down and he's got 20 people that are waiting for that. He doesn't, 45 minutes is 30 minutes too much. So it's about speed of service, and that's what we hang our hat on, and we have to, because that's our reputation.
Yes, absolutely. Time is money, so minimizing downtime as much as possible is critical. One of the ways we are working on this issue in EDNI Distributing is I'm creating a center of excellence for technology, and we're starting to recruit people within our company. So let me know if you're a job seeker and interested in this opportunity. But we're looking for support people who have experience in agriculture, passion for technology, and aptitude for these areas. So I mentioned before that we will be working closely with dealers, local dealers that are close to the farmers, to get them trained to support those people. Distributors can be local supplies of parts and backup units, so we can keep those farmers in the fields and those workers going. And then finally, we have the dealers as the first line of support. Second line of support, distributors call our technicians at the distributor level, and then we'll also partner with suppliers so they can virtually connect with the machines and provide that level of support. But it's going to take all of us in each of our unique capacities in order to support the technology in the field, because things are going to go wrong.
Thank you so much to all of you. I guess we should wrap it up now. Your insight was incredible. Agriculture is moving fast, as you all know, and I think the future is bright, and it looks like we're in good hands with all of you, kind of paving the way for us. So thank you so much for your time and your input. Thank you to everybody who's watching, and also thank you to FIRA and the GoFar team. And I hope everybody has a great day.